Like that music we have going in the background? Welcome in to Evolve. It's Evolve with Keisa. I'm going to go ahead and turn the background music. I should have done it a little bit better than that. I mean, I just literally cut it off. I could have just faded it down, right? Anywho, welcome in tonight. It is Keisa, and we are evolving not only with me this time, but I'm bringing alongside me a couple of friends, a couple of wonderful and mature ladies. Y'all, we have been talking all week about dating. Okay. Actually, I've been talking to the better part of the past month about dating, different aspects of dating. Like, are you dating a narcissist? Which some people really, I found out, got really annoyed with me with got really annoyed with me with that series, which is hilarious to me because they're two different spectrums. Some people were annoyed. Other people were like, I'm so glad that you're doing that. Sorry, y'all. I am in downtown Birmingham. And I'm back. Like the fire truck gets really, really loud, right? So I'm back. But there were some people who were like really annoyed. But then when you do this, I'll tell you this, you really have to take a tough stance from the perspective of saying, it's not important to me the criticism that I receive. What's important is that the people who need help actually get it. That's what's most important. And that's what I stand on. Okay. So, anyway, I'm not going to belabor the point, but I've been talking about dating and relationships for the better part of the past month. And I'm going to continue going until I get a release on it because people say the dating pool is messy. People say it's hard for people to connect. And especially when you start getting to those more mature years, you think we learn a thing or two. But the question is, why is it so challenging? So guess what? I don't want to sit here and just discuss it on my own. I want to bring us alongside me tonight two beautiful boss women and join in the conversation with us, okay? And they're going to take it from their perspective, okay? One is all the way from North Carolina. She is Miss Tony. Miss Tony, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Tony is an HR professional in North Carolina. Oh, folks, but that's not all. There is more. We've got Kiara, who hails from the Magic City, entrepreneur, event planner extraordinaire, wedding planner. Ladies, welcome to Evolve. We're calling this the kickback. We've got our drinks, our snacks, and we're just going to have some adult conversation, some girl talk around this whole dating arena. And I'm so glad y'all are joining me. So I've been kind of looking, ladies, like and talking about like this whole dating thing. Are we doing this wrong? And I'm not, and you can take it from either a lady's perspective or just a general perspective, because am I out here by myself? Is it challenging out there in the dating arena? Have things drastically changed? What do you all believe is going on? I'll let either one of you jump into that. Tony, Kiara.
I'll start.
Okay,
Um, I
go for it.
want to say this. I don't think the dating arena is wrong because we date how we date, right? We like who we
Yeah.
like, we love who we love, we date what we want to date, right? I do
Yes.
think it's mixed a little bit simply because times have changed. And so part of us wants to date old school, and then part of us wants to date new school, and so it's mixed. So we really don't know what we want, what we're looking for, what we need, because times have changed. And so I feel like it's mixed a little bit. And
Hmm.
so when we start looking for a partner, we're not sure, what we're looking for, because we want us to, we want them to treat us like granddaddy did grandma. But then you meet this young gentleman that's not granddaddy material. So it's like he doesn't work because you're trying to, make him fit into a persona that you trying to make him fit into, but it's not this day and age. So I feel like it's mixed. And if we try to figure out what we really want, I think the dating will be a little bit easier. But for me, I just feel like it's mixed all the way around.
Let,
That's just
and Tony, oh, that's good. Tony, let me, and shots fired already, Kiara. Shots fired because look now. Y'all are my buddies now. But I'm gonna come on in here. Hold on, Tony. So you said, like we look at it, and you're right. We're looking like, well, back in the day, they had to, they would come pick you up. They had to sit down and let mom and them, observe him and all that kind of stuff. But wait, when granddaddy got married, sometimes granddaddy didn't treat grandma right either. Granddaddy had children. Y'all, my mother tells me this funny story. This man who was married, who would get off work, who would when he would get to his house, the girlfriend lived down the street from the house. He'd get to his house, he'd turn off the lights. He'd drive past the house. The wife would be sitting on the porch watching him. He didn't know that she was watching him, to go down to his woman's house. True story.
Yeah.
So what they did back then, it wasn't any better.
Right.
In some instances. I'm listening, Tony. I'll be quiet now. What are you? That's a true story, by the way. I'm not making that up. I'm not
and
making
that's not so far left. I will piggyback off Kiara. We are living in a different space and place and time. So yeah, you can bring some of those old school values, but we're living different now. It's just different. And the second thing is, we need to make sure that we are defining dating the same way. If I ask 10 people to define dating for me, they would give me 10 different answers. And I know this for a fact because I've done this primarily with guys. Tell me what you think dating is. And it is from one end of the spectrum to the other. Some people think dating is getting to know people and dating several people. Some people think at the other end of dating is exclusive, but they haven't had that conversation to be exclusive yet. They're just making assumptions. So I think those two things we need to massage and make sure that we're on the same page about, because us living in a different space and place and time, men and women are expecting something different.
Right.
It's just not us that's expecting something different. Men are expecting something different as well.
Right.
Okay, so you said right. So come on, talk me through that. See, I'm not really out there looking. I mean, I'm good right now. I'm good. Okay, I'm on chill, as the song
Well,
says.
ditto to that. I mean, if it happens, it happens. But the standards for men are different than they were 40 years ago, 30 years ago, even 5 or 10 years ago. They're looking for standards as well, just like what we always focus on women's standards and women's lists. But even though men don't talk about the list that they have or the standards that they have them.
They have one.
Just like we do.
Absolutely.
And it's different than it was 5, 10, 20, or 30 years ago. Women are making their own money. Women are not looking for men for stability. And I mean, we have to really think about this. It hasn't been but 50 years ago, 40 years ago, where women could not have a checking account or buy a house without a man. Where are we now? We don't need that. So we're looking for different things in men than our mothers and grandmothers were looking for several years ago. Yeah. I think they settled for men that could provide, because all the men had to do was spend money. All they had to do was have a good job and be stable and spend that money. And you're going to have to come with a little bit more than that right now. Because we got that.
We got all the money and stuff and the resources. So what else?
And the stability. We're stable ourselves. So what else can you bring? And let's talk about, again, what does dating mean?
Right. And just to piggyback on what you said, even with what dating is, like you said, it's different for everybody. But I think once we start dating and actually communicate with the person that we're dating as to see what we want, like, what are we dating for? Am I dating you just to date because I want, companionship? Am I dating you because I want to get married? Like, what are we dating for? I think there's a purpose in everything that you do. So dating has to have a purpose for me. Now, like Keisa said, I'm not on the market. I am not interested in dating. I turned 50 in April, and I'm just really focused on myself. But I do have some girlfriends that are out there, that are dating, and they tell me, how they're dating and what's going on. And it's really scary to even feel like you want to actually get back out there. So just compiling everything that they say is like a no for me, right now. But if I found the right one, I'm open. I'm open minded. My heart is still open, to find love and to date. But at the end of the day, I know the purpose I have. So if I was to start dating, if I started dating, I would date to get married because I'm 50. Like, I'm not trying to date, all these other people. I'm ready to get, settle and keep going. But you have people that's out there that's just dating because they just want to date. They want companionship. They lonely, they want, to have this extra person around. So it's all kind of, ways or reasons why we're dating. I just feel like in this day and age, we need to be honest about the purpose of dating.
I think sometimes our approach is wrong as
Mm-hmm.
far as dating. We may not be looking for anything, or we may be looking for anything. You may be at one end of the spectrum or the other, but your approach says a lot.
Mm.
Every person that comes into your life, whether it's a friendship or a girlfriend or whatever, it's not it, they have different purposes. So every man that you meet is not for the purpose of dating.
Absolutely.
It may be for a purpose of connection or a purpose of getting you to the next level, or a purpose of you learning something. So
That's
don't look at a man every time you meet a man for the purpose of dating that man, because that might not be the purpose.
Right.
Let the relationship evolve into what it needs to evolve in, and then if he's interested in dating you, you will see that the cream will rise to the top, so they say. So I think a lot of women get out there and they start asking all these questions and vetting, and I'm dating with a purpose. Well, his purpose may be just to get in your pants.
yeah.
I'm dating with a purpose needs to be explained as well, as much as dating, the definition of dating. So
Absolutely.
dating with a purpose, what is your purpose?
Right.
That needs to be a deeper conversation rather
Mm-hmm.
than, oh, I'm dating with a purpose. We too old to not have these deeper conversations. And
Right.
if that man is a man that's shying away from those conversations, then that's not the person for you.
Kiara, I want Kiara to touch on that because Kiara, you said that you were dating with you want to date with a purpose. Talk about and yours is just simply you're being honest. Hey, I want to be married. That's what you're talking about.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I were to get back in the dating arena, and meet somebody that, sparks my attention or whatever, I, would be honest up front. Like, hey, what are we doing?
Yeah,
And it wouldn't be like the first conversation, but,
yeah,
as time goes on, that
yeah.
would be something that would come up because I want to know, what's your purpose? And if he's not in the same arena as me, then I don't think it's not a fit for me, then I move on to the next one.
My
That's just
here's a
me.
question. Okay, here's another question I have. You all touched on something that kind of concerned me because I hadn't been out there in that dating arena for years. But you said that Kiara, you said you have friends out there, and you said the things that you're hearing, some of the things that you see, you said it's a little bit of a concern. You're not in any rush to get out there. I want to hear about that. What's going on out there in the dating streets?
Oh, so we touched on a little bit too when Miss Tony was talking about the financial arena. We talked about cheating. And it's kind of controversial because some people feel like when you're dating, you're not cheating, and some feel like if you're dating, you are cheating. So,
That's a cop out, by the way. Let me we're grown. You can have a conversation. I mean, I'm gonna be straight bullet to the head, straight, no chaser. It, if you say I don't know you, or I'm dating around, I'm not interested in a serious relationship, great. But I heard someone tell me that a guy that I was talking to who said that, well, technically, even if I mean, as long as he's not married, I, let me just go on and say it. I think that's what some guy. We are in a new dating arena. Guys feel like they have a lot more choices. I believe that they're coming up with all sorts of wording, all sorts of phrasing, all sorts of catches to say, well, as long as I'm, I don't have, as long as I'm not married, I'm whatever. Nah, if you can't be kept while you're single and you can't be kept while you're dating, you're not going to be kept while you're married, sir. That's Keisa. Go on, Kiara. I'm sorry, I had to insert that.
so I agree with you. I agree with that, but I do feel like what you just said, if we were exclusively dating, then I would understand that just a tad bit more. But if
Right.
we're just dating, like you don't have no strings attached to me, and I don't have any
Agreed.
attached to you, so that's
Agreed.
just how I feel about that. But those are the two main ones. And so, like what Miss Tony was saying, like what we all was saying, how the dating pool is mixed a little bit. I do feel like society now is microwave.
Yeah.
And so, like back in the day, we nurtured, our parents and grandparents, they nurtured, they waited, they took the time out to figure out these things and nurture their relationships, and they were in it for a long time. But now it's like, what you got? Because if you can't
Yeah.
match this, that, and the other, it's a done deal. We throw them away too quick. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like we don't even give it time to try to figure out each other or try to see if something is gonna work or whatever. If it's the first incident, something that's familiar to a last relationship, then we don't want it. So I feel like everything is so microwavable right now that nobody is taking the time to actually really get to know each other, actually really get to know how to date, to
Mm.
talk to each other, to communicate, because you may be throwing away the wrong one just because the other
Mm.
person said something that you might like. He may not have gotten to that point yet, but you didn't nurture it enough. You didn't try to see, if this was the one. So I just feel like it's like I said, to me in my heart, it's just mixed up because we just really don't know what we want because of the way society is.
What do you think? What do you think, Tony? Because my head is going in two different directions with that. Because I'm listening to a guy who's a coach, a relationship coach today, and he says sometimes women take too much in relationships. Sometimes they put up with too much from guys when a guy keeps on offending you, when he keeps on, and this is just on balance to what you're saying, Kiara. So and maybe it's no right or wrong. Just saying it's just two perspectives because I'm with you, Kiara. Is sometimes you have to put time test to people. But are there other times? What do you ladies think about this? That that some ladies stay in there too long. They see a guy continue offending, continue doing stuff, and still hanging in there. What do you think?
Women make too many assumptions, and I hate to. Some women, let me just
Yes.
put some women, quote unquote, make too many assumptions because until you hear out of his mouth that we are in an exclusive relationship, then you shouldn't assume anything.
Thank you.
I don't care if it's
Thank
been
you.
6 months, a year and a half, or 2 years. If you have not heard that out of his mouth to say that we are in an exclusive relation, or he doesn't have now I mean, men want to be the leaders in the relationship. Let him lead. If
Yes.
he is not leading you, then you know what move to make. We have got to put the responsibility back on ourselves as women. If
Mm,
we are not getting what we want out of a relationship, don't be afraid to move on.
Right.
that's good.
I'm
Absolutely.
sorry. If it is not, we have got to have that conversation as to what dating, what the definition of dating is, first
Right.
of all, because it's going to mean different things for different people. And
That's
if
right.
you don't have the same definition, then you need to get on the same page about that. And then you need to get on your same page about intentions. Now, I'm not saying that has to be the initial conversation. It should not be the initial
Right.
conversation because relationships should be built on friendships. I need to try to get to know you. Now, if me getting to know you and then I find some things that are not really in alignment with what I'm wanting, move on.
Yeah.
We're dating. We're
Right.
That's
getting
good.
to know people. I think what Kiara said was spot on. We are so in a microwavable society that we want to rush into things. You got to take your time with that. You've got to take your time with that.
Let me ask you all another question. I have all kind of questions that are coming up as y'all are talking. I love this conversation. Take your time. If it doesn't work, move on. Get out of the way. Um, let's talk about the standards. I know women have standards. What are some of these standards that these guys are talking about out there in these dating streets?
Hmm.
Inquiring minds want to know. Y'all, is
I
that what
know
you're hearing?
one that I've heard from one of my girlfriends was that they want to make sure that we are stable.
Ooh,
And I
fi-
think that goes, I think that's big and I think that's fair.
how so? Financially stable.
just a stable all the way around. Like they don't want this person that is making bad decisions, that's that's still trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you thinking about our age group, at some point we should have some type of stability going on, right?
Agree.
So
I
I
agree.
think it's a fair.
I agree.
I think it's fair for a man and a woman to want to go into the relationship at our age for stability.
I
I
agree.
think it's fair. So that's one of the ones that I've heard.
What about you, Tony?
I've heard several that are fair versus unfair. I think guys are looking for the same thing that we're looking for.
Mhm.
Like Kiara said, stability. I mean, that's fair across the board. Um, there are some things that are unfair, but you have to realize that those things are unfair and move on.
Yeah.
Um, if a guy is looking for someone that quote unquote has a low body count, but then he wants to sleep with you, is that fair?
That's
Right.
fair.
Makes sense.
I mean, you want me to sleep with you, but you want me to have a low body count. What if it doesn't work out with you?
Right.
I mean, let's just be honest.
Yes.
Um, there are several things that are fair as far as, like Kiara said, stability,
Hmm.
um, emotional intelligence is very key. But you got to be ready for an emotionally intelligent person to step to you if you are going to be emotionally intelligent to that person. It goes both ways.
Absolutely.
You can't be popping off at somebody, at a guy, and he's emotionally intelligent, willing to sit down and have those hard conversations with you, but you're not willing and you're not able and you're not intelligent enough to have those conversations without, raising your voice, or whatever the situation might be. You have to be ready for that person to come into your life. Guys are looking for an emotionally intelligent person, which I think also is fair. I'm looking
Yes.
for an emotionally intelligent person too.
So let's talk about emotional intelligence and how do you define emotional intelligence? I have something in my head in which I define it, which is not really difficult at all. Um, what do you think about when you think about emotional intelligence, Tony? Whether it be a definition or an example.
So that's being able to actually have a difficult conversation,
Hmm.
um, and not internalize it. Keep the problem, and not internalize it. And make sure, if you're at that place where you know that this person is a good person, you might be in the 6 month or a year stage, and you know that that person is a good person. Keep that keep that thought of why you were attracted to that person. You've
Mm,
been with that person for 6 months, 9 months, a year for a reason, because you respect that person. Um, that person has done right by you. So make sure that you continue to respect that person and keep the problem the problem. Resolve the issue, because it really comes down to how you get through the difficult times.
yeah, yeah.
That's what it comes down to. If you are in a difficult time, you're not sitting there, you are able to talk through it and get to the other side and get back to why you were attracted to each other in the first place.
That's good.
What do you think? What did you have anything to add to that, Kiara?
I would say, and that was really good, Miss Tony. But I would say for me, emotional would be you being able to adapt, being able to nurture my mind, my physical being, spiritual being, um, all of it, includes emotions. So I feel like if we're having a conversation and like Miss Tony said, I'm going left, I need you to go right. I need you to pick me up. You know, I want you to encourage me, mentally, physically, and spiritually. I need you to jog my memory. I need you to, think for me sometime. I need you to do all of these things for me emotionally. So that's the person that, would do it for me. Like, I need you to do all of this for me. So I need you to be involved emotionally with me. So that's the person that'll stand out for me.
Let me
Oh,
add to that as well.
yeah.
Everybody, relationships are not 50-50. I want people to stop thinking that
Mm-mm.
relationships are you bringing your whole self to the relationship every day.
100% every time.
However, we are not able to bring 100% of ourselves every day. That's just
No.
not possible. We're human. There is no way that emotions should be suppressed to the person that you're supposed to be in the relationship with. Some
Right.
days I might have 20%, I might have 30%, but I don't have
Mhm,
100%. If
mhm.
I have 30% and my mate has 70%, then hey, we're going to be good. But sometimes
Absolutely.
you're going to have those days when I got 20 and he might have 15. Then we need to sit and figure out, okay, what do we need to do to get through the rest of this day without hurting each other?
Right.
Yes,
Because neither one of us are close to 100%. We
yes.
need to figure out what we need to do, what we need to, if that means you going to one room and I'm going to, that's not bad. That's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes we need our alone time. Then
Yeah.
sometimes one might have 30%, one might have 70%, and hey, we're good because the other one's going to catch up the balance. But some
Right.
days it's just not going to be like that because life is lifing for
Right.
everybody. I
And I
might
feel
have
like too,
10% one day and he might have 10%. What are we going to do to make up that 80%?
yeah. I feel like too, even when you speak of emotional, I feel like um an emotional stable person is healed as well. So you
Mm,
can't be in a relationship and you're not healed and try to be emotionally stable for me. It don't
mm,
work. So that's
mm.
70-30, 80-20, that's out the door because you ain't healed enough to help me. And I'm not healed enough to help you. So I do feel like that's a big part in us being emotional, stable for each other.
And I think
Oh,
healed is a overused word, and a lot of people might not agree with me on that because there are certain areas and certain circumstances in our lives that we will never be 100% healed from. I'm sorry. Death takes a toll on us. There are certain triggers that you those things scab over, but if you pick at it enough or somebody picks at it enough, it's going to trigger you. And that's where you have to deal with your other person. Everybody's going to come with some kind of baggage. It's just
Right.
what baggage are you going to deal with? What baggage are you going to accept? Because just like they have to accept it from us, we have to accept it from them. None of us are perfect, so we have to figure out, okay, what are we going to compromise on? Compromise is a big thing. I don't think everyone is ever 100% healed of everything.
No, I
I
agree. Oh,
agree.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Kiara. I'll go after
Go
you,
ahead.
Kiara.
I agree with you saying like we don't always come into the relationship whole, but I just want to just like I'm not saying I want to disagree. I just want to give a different perspective of heal because healing or healed is different for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so even in situations where um I mentioned that we should be healed, even if something is going on, or even if there's something that happens that may trigger that person, if that person is healed or well enough, they should be able to sustain. So that's what I'm saying. Like, don't go back that way. So if you're healed in this area, or it may not be every area, but you should be able, a healed person that's got joy in their heart, that's got peace from past relationships, or ready to move on and stuff like that. I feel like when you get into that relationship, you should be healed enough to deal with it. So it doesn't matter what your ex-wife did that may trigger you. You shouldn't have a trigger from that because you're healed from it. So that's how I kind of see that. So I don't want nobody. I'm gonna just use myself as an example. My husband passed 2 years ago, and I can say I'm healed from it. But if I get into another relationship and some triggers may happen, and I jump off, I blow up, I'm not healed from that. So I'm saying, we may not be 100%, but the triggers shouldn't allow us to be where, to take us back to that level. So that's what I'm saying as far as heal. Like you should come into that relationship ready for that relationship,
Or
or
let me
ready for
let
that.
me add and let me add this part. I'm tracking with both of you. It healed is overused, Tony, but I'm still not going to give us a pass, man or woman. We're too old.
Yeah.
Too old.
Yeah.
We're too. We should be more mature. If look at Kiara's example, she lost a husband. She gets into a marriage. She may not even know because here's the deal. I'm gonna be fair. And look at it from both sides. You may not even know you have that wound there
That's what I was going to say. You don't even know sometimes until that trigger happens
until
that you're
that
not
trigger
healed.
happens.
Yeah,
Yes. So
yeah,
we're going to have to give grace. But
right,
here's where the grown part comes in.
right.
Okay. I want to preserve this relationship with you. I don't want to lose this over what's happened. And I see this here. We better be getting some talking done. We better be sitting down with our spouse and saying, you know what? I know I got a space right there. I need you to work with me. I need you to give me a little bit of grace. Because here's the thing, here's the problem. I think we have allowed people's trauma, and we use it, and it comes in the form of sleeping with multiple women. It comes in the form of sleeping with multiple men. It comes in the form of lying. It comes in the form of not taking care of responsibilities. It comes in the form of abuse, emotional abuse, yelling. It comes in the forms of physical abuse. All of that is trauma. And at the end of the day, now here's the deal. If a person doesn't want to heal, okay, that's their business. But the question, the further issue is, how long are you going to put up with that and continue to allow yourself to be damaged by that? So
Absolutely.
I think we can even get in marriages and be like, okay, I didn't even know I had that spot. The important thing is yeah, you give grace, but do they want to make a change? So yeah, healed is thrown around a lot, but I think it's also the thing that we overlook, because a lot of times, Tony and Kiara, I don't think people know where to begin to do that, because especially in our community. In other communities, they'll tell you about having a counselor. They'll tell you about, my therapist told me such and such, and they have it, and they're good for our community. Oh, you got a counselor? Oh, what's wrong with you? We're breaking through those walls a little bit more now, but it's this pride that I'm carrying everything on my shoulders and I got it. No, you don't, boo boo. You don't have it. And the sad thing is, we see your issue. Everybody looking at you and see your issue, but you won't go and deal with it. So yeah, I do think it's overused, but I still say the key is we've got to heal. And thank you for that note, Tony, because you're going to make me add something too, that I think we have to be content. We have to be committed to the process to be, and maybe healing is not the best word. Maybe it's just to be our best selves, man. Put our best selves forward.
Well, communication is a skill. I don't
Yeah.
care what anybody says. It is a skill. Everybody cannot communicate. Just
Yeah.
because you are talking to them does not mean that they understand, first of all.
Mhm.
Second of all, I don't care what kind of relationship you're in. It could be mother, daughter, son, father. It can be aunt, niece. It can be a romantic relationship. I don't care what kind of relationship you're in. There are going to be times when there are conflicts that need to be resolved.
Yeah.
If
Absolutely.
you can't communicate to get on the other side of that conflict, then you don't have the communication skills that you need, and you're going to sit in that and more than likely destroy that relationship or not nurture that relationship to get to the other side. You're
Mm.
going to sit in that valley,
Yeah.
and you don't need to sit in the valley. When you sit in the valley, and I don't mean to go spiritual on people,
Go
but when you
spirit.
sit in that valley, that gives Satan something to attach himself to.
Yeah.
When he attaches himself to that silence, to that conflict,
Yeah.
or whatever it is,
Yeah.
then you don't have the skills that you need to get out of the valley, especially silence. Because with silence, you create your own movie, your own book, your own whatever in your head.
Why was
If
I just
you're not
listening?
talking to each other, you are
Yeah.
creating your own story in your head.
Why was I just listening to something about this today? And
Wow.
he was just saying that when you are silent and you allow that space in there for the enemy, you allow that space in there for your own whatever to play. And mature, and then this coach went on to say mature people talk. As uncomfortable
Exactly.
as it is, do you think so, Tony? Do you think
I
so, Keisha?
absolutely, absolutely, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable. You have to be okay with being uncomfortable. And I'm not saying that everything you have to go ahead and hit head on, because sometimes you need that silence to gather your thoughts. But I'm
Absolutely.
not saying that days or weeks or months should pass by and you all have not resolved that issue, because you have then given Satan something to attach himself to. And that two people have decided in their head, they have created a whole screenplay in their own head about what this other person is or is not, instead of communicating with each other.
That's
Communication is a skill. I'm
yeah.
telling you, I talk
Absolutely.
to people every day, and it's amazing to me how people, they listen, they don't listen because they want to respond.
All
That
day,
is
It's
every
all
day.
about the response. It's not
that's one
about
of the things
listening
that
to
right.
understand. It's all about let me respond and get my point across.
Go ahead, Kiara.
I was just I, I was just saying that that's one of the how I tell my kids, like they just itching to say something, just itching to say something because they hear me, but they
Mhm.
just want to respond to what I said. They didn't actually hear what I said. They weren't listening. They
Yeah,
just heard what I said, and they ready to respond. So that is true. Those one of the things I used to say in my relationship. And what's so crazy is you were spot on, because sometimes when my husband and I would get into a slight argument, he didn't like to communicate. He was one that didn't want to talk, like none of that. So I'm the type of person, if something wrong, I want to know what's wrong. And
yeah.
I think communication goes back to knowing your mate as well, and knowing, how to push their buttons, when to talk to them, stuff like that. Because I'm the type of person too, if I'm upset about something, give me my space and let me calm down. Don't keep nagging at me because you're going to make it worse. Let me calm down, and then we can come back and revisit it. My husband was the type of person that it's done. We ain't talking about nothing. It is what it is. And literally, I would be silent. Hear me when I say this. Months.
Whoa. Who would be silent? You or him?
Both, because he knew I wanted to talk about it. And so he knew he had the upper hand. And
Oh,
so if he couldn't, if he knew he had the upper hand, so my answer in the healing, I mean the answers and stuff that I needed had to come from him. I was trying to figure out what was wrong. So I don't know what's wrong. So now we're not talking. Months. It was
Yeah.
bad.
how did that leave you?
That's
How
another
did that
show
leave
for
you
you,
feeling?
K.
Huh?
I
What'd you
said
say?
that's another show for you, Coach K.
I'll take it. But did you ever resolve that?
It got resolved, and what's crazy is once it got resolved, we don't even know what the issue was because it had gone on for so long. We never knew why you was mad. Well, I thought you said, or I thought you meant, or I thought
So how did
you
you
said this.
so how did you handle that? Did you just kind of walk around the house and not say anything to each other? Like you just kind of avoided each other?
Yeah,
Hmm.
So
I,
back to your initial question, are we dating all wrong? So we should have learned from previous relationships how to get through that and how to go ahead and face these difficulties head on and get through them and get on
right.
the side quicker than we did in our 30s and 40s. We are
Absolutely.
at a point now, I'm 59 and a half years old. I don't have time for all of that
no, no,
stuff.
Absolutely.
We're
no.
going to talk about this, as quickly as possible. I'm not saying push anybody, but talk about it, get on the other side, and let's enjoy life.
Right. Absolutely.
That's
And
why.
that's the type of person that I am. But
Yeah.
it didn't always go that way. So you got to be yoked in the situation. So,
Exactly. And
And
I
sometimes
mean, age does not mean maturity, but it should,
no,
but it
no,
doesn't.
it
right.
doesn't. And then, sometimes we get in situations, I found too with myself, you get in these situations and sometimes you really don't know. You don't see everything. And even if you go through a long cycle, there's still some things that you could miss. A long cycle of dating, there's still things that you miss, and there's still some things that are going to come out in that marriage. You try to cover as much, but it's going to come out in that marriage. You're going to be like, wait a minute, the hope is that you have someone who possesses that degree of emotional intelligence, who's willing to work through that with you when you get to those points of conflict. Because Tony, I think, and Kiara, I think relationships are made or broken on difficulties. The great relationships face those difficulties and they move forward. The ones that don't make it, they hit that difficulty and it just shambles. It goes, goes to whatever. Wow. My mind is kind of going all over the place, with that conversation just about communication. So in dating, this is what I wanted to say. Thank you, Lord, for bringing that back. One of the things that we talk about all the time, even on our show with Keisa and Joe, is that, and I know I try to mention too through some of my podcast and my teaching, is that the hope is that you put enough time in there. Because when you put enough time in there, you get to observe a person through all the cycles. You've got to have those arguments. You've got to have those, and arguments may be a bad word, but you've got to have the different disagreements. You've got to come to the difficulty and see what happens when he's angry. Does he hit? Does he cuss? Does he stomp? Does he slap? Does she cuss? Does she hit? What happens? You get to that point to hopefully where you can gather enough information. So time is always a good thing. Ladies, I have a fun game I want to conclude with both of you as we get ready to wrap it up. This conversation is rich, and I just don't think we can have it in one night. I might have to bring you all back again, and we talk on a whole other dating thing. So I'm going to do something real fun, okay, as we get ready to wrap up. All right?
Okay.
I know both of you guys said that you're not really interested in dating. All right. I hear you. But if you had your ideal guy, okay, this is A or B. A or B, you choose A or B. All right. If you had your ideal guy, what would you got? 5 questions for you. What would you prefer? A or B? A, money, or B, intelligence?
Intelligence.
B.
Both of you are saying B?
Yes.
Definitely B.
Gotcha. Okay, I can't see. I've got my little answer, my screen pulled up. Hold on. I want to get your reactions and everything. Okay. If you are dating this gentleman, we are in the 50 and Fabulous crew. Shout out one time to the 50 and Fabulous crew. Whoop, whoop. At home, A or B, apartment?
Home.
A. Yeah, home.
Okay, home. He needs to have a home in his 50s.
Absolutely.
He doesn't need to have an apartment.
Well, listen. Just so long as you ain't living with your mama. I say that.
Thank you,
Okay.
Kiara.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is good stuff. This is good. Now listen, y'all listen, you stand on your square. If you want him to have a home, he can let him have a home. Doggone.
Well, I mean, life happens to everybody. So like Kiara said, as long as he's living alone, we're good. We're good. We're good.
Okay. All right. A, children. B, no children.
Children, I've got a child, so I mean, children don't bother me now.
I would say B with the children too, but just for me, your child has to be old, my child's age or older, because I ain't going back to the daycare. I ain't changing no peppers. I ain't going to no middle school. I ain't doing none of that. So if your child ain't my child age and we beyond that.
Oh, come on, Kiara. No little babies.
As long as I don't have to take care of them. I mean, I'm past the mommy stage. They have a mommy, so let them go.
Right, but I don't want you to feel like I'm going to come out there with you.
Okay. I'm okay with, I mean, either one, long because I can only be what I can be. I can't go back and be a parent to a small child.
But just been there, done that. So the consensus is no small children. Okay. All right. I hear y'all loud and clear.
Well, I won't say no small children. I just can't be the primary caregiver.
Them. I get it. Okay, I get it. Stand on your square, ladies. Don't be afraid.
I understand, Miss Tony, but it's a no for me all the way around.
I love it though. I love it. Those that's your requirement. And why lie and get in and be angry or frustrated?
And that's what I go back to. It's like, okay, figure out where you fit and how you fit. And if
Yeah.
you don't fit there, move on.
Move on. Move on. All
Yeah.
right. We're winding down here. Winding down. Last two questions.
Okay.
Funny or nerdy?
Funny.
Miss Tony says funny.
I would say nerdy a little bit, because I feel like sometimes nerdy people can be funny too. You get a mix.
Now that's funny, Kiara. That's
Nerdy
funny.
people can be funny, right? So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is so very interesting. All right. All right. Last one. Emotional or stoic? And a guy who's emotional, who's just kind of
I'd
stoic.
rather be emotional, because that gives me a little bit more of a full view of who you are. If you're stoic, I can't see who you are.
yeah, I can't read you. Emotional
Right.
for me too, but you can't be overly emotional now.
No, not overly
Be overly emotional. I'm gonna be like, hold on now, who put your pants on?
I'm with you there.
Okay, so y'all don't want any Ralph Tresvant? You need a man with sensitivity? A man, y'all don't want any of that? No.
I don't want him to feel like he has to suppress his emotions around me.
Okay.
Whatever that is, I mean, whatever that is, I mean, you should have a soft place to land.
I want you to be emotional with me, but I want to have a balance. Like, I want you to be emotional, but I want you to be roughneck in the same sense, right? So
Yeah.
I don't want you to be softer than me.
In other words, if you see a bad guy coming up the street, I don't want you turning to me and screaming, ah! I need you to do something. I need you to be the man.
Well, yeah, I don't think most real men are going to go in that direction. I think that they need a soft place to land behind the four walls of their home.
Right.
I get you. I was being a little bit funny, maybe. Maybe. We're
maybe
because things are.
I got you on that.
Look, they making it normal now, so.
Oh, right. I mean, it's different, a little bit different out there in these streets. We're trying to, learn how to navigate here.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, Tony. Listen, Kiara. Man, this has been fun. I know people want to hear a different perspective than my perspective. I'm going to have you all back on in the future. There's plenty of talk where this goes around, so y'all hang loose with me. We thank you for your support and thank you for evolving with us, okay? Y'all, so I hope you had a few little snacks, enjoyed your snacks with us tonight and a little conversation. And I appreciate the gems that you shared tonight.
Amen.
We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Ladies, y'all have a good night. I'm going to release you now and let you go on and enjoy the rest of your night, okay? Thank you so very much. That is Miss Tony. Goodbye, Miss Tony. Miss Kiara, see you later as well. Miss Kiara joining us tonight on Evolve, the Kickback Special Edition. We're talking about dating. That was fun, just to be able to hear two intelligent, boss, beautiful women, beautiful sisters come and just talk about what they see in the dating arena, right? Like, you all have heard enough from me, so we need to get some more input in there, right? So listen, hope you all have an absolutely wonderful evening. I thank you so, so much for joining us, and I hope that you have an absolutely great weekend. Thanks for joining us on the Kickback as we're moving on into the weekend today. I am Keisa. I am Coach K. The question is, are we dating all wrong? But listen, this is what I'll say to y'all. There's always hope, okay? I'm always going to leave you with that much. There's always hope. So remember, just hang on in there. I'll see you all later. Keisa, Coach K.